How to Talk to the Universe Before You Sleep. Part 1. Most people think talking to the universe is something reserved for monks on mountaintops or people who've read every self-help book ever written. But here's the counterintuitive truth that'll flip that idea on its head. The most powerful spiritual portal a person has access to isn't a temple. It isn't a retreat. It's the 5 to 10 minutes right before they fall asleep. Right there in their own bedroom, wrapped in silence and surrender, the soul opens up like a door left ajar, and the universe isn't just willing to listen. It's been waiting for them to finally show up. What if the reason so many people wake up feeling empty, disconnected, or stuck isn't bad luck or wrong timing, but simply that they've been missing the most sacred energetic portal of their day? The awakening doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the quiet. And this is the rare, transformational knowledge that most people never get to hear. What follows is a step-by-step journey into the art of genuine communication with the universe. And by the end, the reader's nights will never be the same. Topic 1. The universe has always been listening. There's a belief deeply woven into the fabric of spirituality that the universe isn't some distant, cold, indifferent force floating out there in the cosmos. It's actually an intelligent, responsive, living energy that communicates back. Think of it less like shouting into a void, and more like sending a message to a very wise, very patient friend who reads every single word, even the ones never quite make it out loud. The truth about spiritual growth is that most people don't struggle to connect with the universe because the channel is closed. They struggle because they've never been taught how to open it, especially before sleep. Personal development teachers like Dr. Joe Dispenza have spent decades studying how the brain shifts into a highly receptive theta brainwave state right before sleep, a state where the subconscious mind absorbs information like a sponge, and the energy a person sends out becomes deeply concentrated and powerful. In other words, the universe isn't hard to reach. It's been the closest thing to that person all along, quietly tuned in, patiently waiting for them to start the conversation. What makes this so fascinating from the perspective of self-knowledge is that talking to the universe isn't about fancy rituals or expensive crystals. Though hey, candles are always a nice touch. It's about consciousness, about shifting from the surface-level chatter of daily life into a deeper state of awareness where the true self gets to speak clearly and freely. The soul doesn't shout, it whispers. And the only way to hear those whispers and send them back out into the universe is to find that inner stillness that becomes the launching pad for real, transformational communication. Neville Goddard, one of the most influential mysticism teachers of the 20th century, taught that the state between wakefulness and sleep, what scientists now call the hypnagogic state, is literally the doorway through which reality gets shaped. And it's not poetry. It's energetic science wrapped in ancient wisdom. Here's what nobody tells people who are just stepping into their spiritual awakening. The universe doesn't respond to words alone. It responds to feelings, to the vibration behind those words. A person can say, "I am grateful," 100 times in a robotic tone while scrolling through their phone, and the universe will essentially shrug. But the moment that same person closes their eyes, takes a breath, and feels that gratitude as a living, pulsing energy rising from their chest, that's when the energetic portal cracks open and real healing begins. This distinction between saying and feeling is the cornerstone of every effective spiritual practice ever documented across human history, from ancient mysticism to modern quantum research. And if anyone's wondering exactly how the universe receives those feelings before bed, well, that's precisely what makes nighttime the most sacred space in a person's entire day. Topic 2. Sleep as a sacred spiritual portal. Most people treat bedtime like a biological obligation. Shower, brush teeth, scroll social media until the eyes go heavy, then crash. But here's what the world's greatest spiritual and consciousness traditions have known for thousands of years. Sleep is not a pause in life. It's an active, sacred, energetic portal where the soul travels, processes, and receives. Ancient traditions across the world have long treated sleep as a time of divine visitation and guidance, and modern neuroscience fully backs this up by confirming that the brain during sleep consolidates memories, processes emotions, and restructures the belief patterns that shape waking reality. Whether someone's approaching this from a lens of mysticism or hard science, The conclusion is identical. What happens in the mind and soul right before sleep matters enormously for personal growth and spiritual development. The person who walks into sleep intentionally is walking through a door that most of humanity has been sleepwalking past their entire lives. The concept of the energetic portal is worth sitting with for a moment, because it genuinely changes everything about how someone understands their own awakening. When a person begins to meditate before sleep, even for just 5 focused minutes, they're not just relaxing, they're tuning their inner frequency like adjusting a radio dial until the signal comes in clean and clear. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research suggests that the heart generates a measurable electromagnetic field, and that when a person enters states of elevated emotion, gratitude, love, awe, that field expands dramatically and communicates outward into the broader energetic environment. This is how the higher self speaks to the universe, not through the noise of busy daytime thoughts, but through the deep, coherent energy of a stilled and intentional mind at the edge of sleep. The spiritual portal doesn't need a password. It needs presence. There's also something profoundly healing about reclaiming nighttime as sacred space, especially for anyone who has experienced spiritual isolation, that strange, aching feeling of being awake in a world that seems asleep to deeper realities. Many people on a path of spiritual awakening describe their evenings as the only time they truly feel like themselves, like the true self gets to breathe when the external demands go quiet. The night carries its own energy, softer, more introspective, more receptive. And the person who learns to work with that energy rather than collapse into it unconsciously is the one who accelerates their inner peace and spiritual growth at a rate that seems almost miraculous. But before the universe can be spoken to, there's something that most people skip entirely. And it's the very reason their attempts at spiritual connection keep falling flat. Topic 3. Preparing your energy before bed. Imagine trying to have a deep, meaningful conversation while carrying a backpack full of bricks. That's essentially what happens when a person tries to talk to the universe while still lugging the unprocessed emotional weight of their entire day. The first and most important step in building a genuine nighttime spiritual practice is what might be called clearing the channel, releasing the static of resentment, anxiety, frustration, and mental clutter before entering the sacred space of sleep. This isn't just good emotional hygiene, it's energetic intelligence, because the universe doesn't respond clearly to a signal muddied by unresolved emotional residue. The soul is trying to send a high-definition message, but if the emotional body is still running yesterday's drama on repeat, the transmission gets garbled. One of the most practical and powerfully underrated tools for this is something as simple as a release journal. Before lying down, the person writes, uncensored, without editing, everything weighing on their mind, not to find solutions, but simply to externalize the energy holding their consciousness hostage. Julia Cameron, who popularized stream of consciousness writing in the artist's way, long advocated for this kind of expressive writing as a tool for clearing mental and emotional blockages. And applied at night, it becomes a form of soul hygiene that sweeps the inner house clean. Once the page holds the weight of the day, the body can finally exhale, and the spirit has room to breathe, to open, and to speak from a place of genuine inner peace rather than accumulated noise. It's the difference between prayer and panic. Physical preparation matters just as much as emotional preparation, and this is especially true for those experiencing energetic hypersensitivity. Many people on a path of spiritual awakening are unusually sensitive to the energies absorbed throughout the day. Screens, arguments, crowded spaces, and social media feeds can leave an energetic residue that clouds the spirit well into the night, disrupting the very state of consciousness needed for deep communication with the universe. A warm bath or shower, soft music, lowering the lights, and putting the phone in another room aren't just nice habits. They're acts of energetic sovereignty, clear signals to both body and universe that a transition is being made from the external world to the internal one. This preparation is the foundation of everything that follows, and it sets the stage for something most people desperately underestimate: the raw, transformational power of feeling the right emotions on purpose. Topic 4. The language the universe understands. Here's something that'll probably challenge what most people think they know about prayer and spiritual communication. The The universe doesn't speak English or any verbal language at all. The universe speaks vibration. It communicates through the frequency of feeling, and it responds to the energetic signals that a person is broadcasting, consciously or not, every single moment of the day. This is the core insight behind Neville Goddard's teachings, which he summarized in the deceptively simple phrase, "Feeling is the secret." When someone feels their desire as already fulfilled, not wishing for it in the future but inhabiting the emotional reality of having it now, they shift their energy into a frequency that the universe literally mirrors back. That's not a metaphor. It's the operating principle of consciousness-based reality creation that has been taught in every major spiritual tradition from ancient Egypt to modern quantum research. The soul that speaks this language fluently becomes, in the deepest sense, a co-creator with the universe. What does this actually look like in practice? Let's say someone's dealing with spiritual isolation, feeling disconnected from their calling, battling that heavy sense that life isn't aligned with who they truly are. Instead of lying in bed saying, "I want to find my purpose," which broadcasts the energy of lacking purpose, the invitation is to close the eyes, breathe deeply, and genuinely feel the warmth, the expansion, the quiet joy of already living a purpose-filled life. Books like Wayne Dyer's Wishes Fulfilled and Abraham Hicks's Ask and It Is Given offer detailed practical frameworks for exactly this kind of emotional rehearsal, and they're worth reading for anyone serious about deepening this practice and accelerating their spiritual development. The feeling isn't pretend, it's a preview, sent as a conscious request to the intelligence behind the universe. And the universe, remarkably, takes requests seriously. The slightly mind-bending truth is that consciousness doesn't perfectly distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, especially in the hypnagogic state right before sleep. Neuroscientists have found that the brain activates the same neural pathways whether a person is physically doing something or vividly imagining doing it, which means emotional rehearsal before sleep is simultaneously reprogramming the brain and broadcasting energetic signals outward. That's the intersection of neuroscience and spirituality, the meeting point of ancient mysticism and modern science. And once a person truly grasps this, once they feel it in their bones, the way they approach every night changes permanently. There is, however, one specific practice that amplifies this process beyond almost anything else, and it's so simple, it almost seems too good to be true.